Hopefully it's not too dark to see this. If it is, I guess it won't be in the video and I'll redo it. This is after mocking up the upper mount, and I was explaining on there, so I'll probably put this ahead before going through all that, that this was swapped from the driver's side. It should have been oriented like this on the driver's side, and we flip it and put it on the passenger side. But actually all of this has been modified from the instructions that Maxim Motorsports gives you, because we're doing an angle kit. And so if you follow their instructions, you're going to have everything off and it's not going to work the way it should with the angle kit. Like these top plates, and you'll see when I talk about that side that this has been cut down to clearance so it sits flat. That's because over here they want this thin side to be towards the engine. The notch right here up towards the front of the car, and the notch right here towards the fender. But the way this actually goes is rotated 180, this notch towards the firewall, and this notch is towards the engine. They want this plate, you can see the ear, they want it facing forward. And here they have the bearing plate, that's this. And they have a positive orientation and a negative orientation. And all they're doing is keeping the bearing facing this way and swapping it passenger to driver. So not only are we rotating these plates, we rotate these plates. For this plate, again, it goes 180, and that ear is going to be towards the engine and pointing towards the firewall instead of on the fender side going towards the front of the car. So it stays the same side, but it gets rotated 180 degrees. Then your bearing plate gets swapped driver to passenger and rotated 180 degrees. And that gives you the ability to pull it further out towards the fender and forward of the car. So, forward and out. This is the part that gets real confusing, is how things get rotated, how things get flipped from side to side and rotated, and then when you're mounting it all up, how you can take one side, mirror it, that way you can trace and copy and do everything you need to do and then put it back. So I hope that clarifies. Don't follow these instructions if you're doing an angle kit. Bottom plate will be turned 180, notch towards the firewall, notch towards the engine. Hopefully you can see that notch. I guess I should do it on something like this instead of here. Rotate that here. That's why you might have to clearance some of this. This plate now needs to turn 180, so that longer ear is not facing forward but now facing back. And what this was originally facing this way on the driver's side is going to get flipped 180 and put on the passenger side. And now we'll go over how I cut all this and modified it so you can see how it all works. And as you can see, this ear has been trimmed, and also this side right here going towards the fender has been trimmed for clearance, so it doesn't run into any of this. Alright, so we're using the Maxim Motorsports caster camber plates, and you have to modify the upper strut mount, you have to modify the plates, and you got to pay attention to the orientation. So this is originally for the passenger side, but the top mount from the passenger side is going to go over to the driver's side. That way we can pull it over further. So, originally passenger, now is going to be on the driver. This is the driver's side, or originally from the driver's side, and all you have to do is just look at this little extended bit right here, and that is going to be on the side of the engine compartment and basically the back corner that you drill. So this was originally the driver's side one, now it's going on the passenger. There's that extended part right there. That's going to go where we have to drill our hole. And then you have your plate that goes underneath the mount. And right here, you're going to see where that has been ground down and clearanced. It sits underneath like that, and what happens is it won't fit completely flush because it'll rub right here. So you take some of that material out so it sits flush in there. And you can pretty much see where we're going to be cutting. We're going to be cutting all this extra out right here. So the way that it's sitting is you have this notch right there. That's going to be facing back. And then you have this notch right there. And that's going to be on the inside towards the engine. Same thing here. Here's the passenger side. Notch towards the firewall. Notch on the engine compartment, or engine side in the engine compartment. So, and on the passenger side, you usually don't have to modify this. You just check. You might have to grind a little bit down. It's the driver's side that has to be ground down. So you can see how much material was taken out right here. And this is just close to the stud. So just keep that in mind. Also, since you'll see later, we'll be pulling this kind of further over. And when this top mount sits on there, we'll be pulling it over and up. So you can see this ear is cut right here. And this has also been trimmed. I don't know if you can see where I've touched it up. So the parts towards the fender, take a little material out of this bottom plate and then cut this ear off. So that way when it's all on here, you can pull it as close to there as you can. I'll give you the most adjustment possible. And I guess the way you can tell if you got these on the right side is you can see how this round part, the actual bearing part, it's moved further over this way on this bracket. Also, just the shape of this is kind of like the, shape of a roof, and that all faces back. Same thing here. So this ear has been cut and the side has been trimmed. This gets a little weird with flipping parts over and modifying them, and then how to cut the holes and how to use these as a template. So, and what I do is, how are you gonna, where to drill the hole? If you stick it underneath, it's hard to drill underneath. If you're looking at it like that, if you turn this over, that's not right. So pretty simply what you do is you're going to take the passenger side lower bracket, flip it, notch is towards the engine, notch is towards the firewall. And what I like to do is just start to set it in the holes, and then take a Sharpie and go around where it's going to go in right there. So now that's where my hole is going to be. Same thing with this side. I'm going to flip it, notch towards the firewall, notch on the engine side, bring it over here, just let the stud start to fall in there. I can do this all one-handed. Let's see if this works. Nope. There you go. Draw a circle. And you can see I've marked these. So that's driver, driver. Originally started as passenger, now driver. So mark them so you don't get confused. If you're probably confused already. Alright, so I'm going to drill the holes. Alright, so hole is drilled. You can see that there's a gap right there. That's because this is pushed up some. So we will knock that flat. But if you look in here where that's been notched, this plate's sitting flat up against there. So that's what we're looking for. And this is the section we have to cut out. Alright. Get that a little bit flatter. There we go. It's looking better. Alright, we can mess with that later. So you can see how you can't see the whole bottom of the plate. You can just see this part right here. It's because we need to cut this out. So, if you haven't figured it out already, we're going to do the same thing as when we went to find where to cut the bolt hole. We're going to take the passenger side lower plate, turn it over where the notch is towards the firewall and this inside notch is towards the engine compartment. And we can drop that in there. And there's our template. What we gotta do is trace right around here, and that's what we're gonna cut out. So on FMC Drift, they have some of these templates. And it looks like, yeah. So this shows passenger, that's if it's turned over. But if it's the driver's side, slotted, 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 that's the hole you drill. You can see how close you cut to this hole. That's why it's like that. So instead of getting this template and drawing it out and printing it, or worried about having somebody try to send it to you, all you have to do is drill your extra mounting hole, take your passenger side plate, flip it over, go. There's our template. That's what we're going to get rid of. And do the same thing over here. And just to make my cutting easier, I mean, I kind of modify the line. I'm going to try to leave a little bit of meat right there. When I come in, this can even be taken over a little bit more. And then same thing, whenever it can kind of go off that way. Basically, the most important thing is we're trying to get the top of the coilover to move forward and out. So this is your most important section right here. Alright, so what I use to cut, usually I'm going to try some other things. Usually I just use a jigsaw. I line it with some body tape, and then I try to use the longest metal bit. So I think this is what I've used before. These are Bosch T18A. I know that I think that's long enough, and I've used it before, and you'll see why the length is important. Is that a, and then there's this Diablo, which is about the same as that Bosch. And then this one, bigger teeth. I mean, this is some pretty thick stuff, so we'll see how it works. But the reason for the body shop tape and everything is, for one, it makes it a nice clean cut. But the body shop tape is because I usually do this with the fender on. You could take the fender off and make it even that much easier. But you'll see I can get in here and start my cut, especially from this way, and I won't be scratching anything. You know, if your paint is good, you know, this one's not in the best of shape. Yeah, if you're worried about your paint, then using the tape on the bottom, you can get in here, and with the way that it's angled, a lot of times the blade will run out of length, and you know, you'll get your kickback. So I'm going to show you how that works. I also have this new little handsaw, pneumatic. So if I get in a tight spot, we'll see about using that. And then a couple of carbide bits, make cleaning up the hole. So I've seen stuff chiseled out and everything else in this really rough cut, or not, you know, in the nicest of shape, and they're just cutting it out. People aren't understanding why they're cutting it out. So hopefully I can show you how to do this fairly quickly and clean. All right, we're going to try the longer blade first. The longer blade is the Bosch T13X with the larger teeth. We'll see how this goes. And I'll cut strips along here, so I'm not just trying to cut this in one long piece. Okay, the bigger blade's definitely clunkier. I can feel it, but you know, I had to raise up against here. And if I was to pull that out too much, I'd get some kickback. So I'm gonna switch to this one and start cutting around, see if it will stay inside of there the whole time, inside that hole the whole time, and not get kicked out. There you go, not too bad. So I'll take the carbide bit and then clean that up. But you can see that's double walled, you know, whatever the thickness. It's obviously got to be strong to support the strut there. So it's tough to cut through, but I mean, that didn't take too long. Leaves a nice cut. So I'll work on this some more to get just as round as I want it. I just like it to look real clean. But it is good enough to show you what it's supposed to look like. And now you can just see the edge there. So I could take out some more there if I really wanted to. We can also see from underneath how this is sitting flat. So see, I could file a little bit more out of there. So just use this as your template. Really close to being right on the money. So just come in there and sand, or use that bouncy carbide bit and take some more out. And then just rinse and repeat on the other side. Got that last little bit knocked down, so it fits in there nice and even. Exactly what you want. That. All this fits down flush. And you can see the gap right there. So I'll probably put the washers and nuts on there, and then just tap this down and make sure it's as flat as I can get it all the way around. I'm gonna mock this up just so you can see how it actually goes. Again, notch firewall, notch engine, trim down here. Still need to deburr my added hole there. So, thick washers. Driver's side plate. This ear inside towards the engine, towards the firewall. And this side is trimmed. Washers. What used to be the passenger side is now the driver's side. This ear is trimmed. This angle should be pointing towards the firewall. More washers. You can see how close it gets. To the fender right there. And that's why we trim it. So that'll still fit there. And now you can pull your strut, top strut plate all the way up and over to this area. And now, hopefully you can see right where we cut out is right where it would be sitting. Otherwise we would be back around here, but now we have all that extra adjustment.